last week, remember we had Forrest Griffin and Stephan Bonner on the show. They were reminiscing about The Ultimate Fighter Season 1 finale, which took place April 9th, 2005. So it was the 10-year anniversary. One of the big names that was victorious on that card. Of course, longtime fan favorite. He retired from the UFC last year. The man joining us right now on the phone, Chris, the Crippler Leben. Chris, how are you?
I'm doing well.
Great to have you on the show, Chris. You're
man.
You're an MMA radio veteran now. You have your own show, right?
I do, yeah. Unfilteredmma.com, and we're on ESPN Radio here in San Diego, so not a bad deal.
I appreciate you taking.
I got to tell you, I don't mind doing your job. You know, it's a lot easier than getting punched in the face.
That's funny. I was just going to ask you, do you have more of an appreciation for the media? Are you surprised that you like it this much? I mean, what's it like sometimes when people cross over, they have different feelings, mixed emotions?
You know, honestly, I always kind of jokingly told people the only thing faster in my hands is my mouth. So, you know, I really don't mind talking, and kind of the format for our show, it's not I don't think I'm quite as professional as you are, you know, covering as much stuff. You know, I just, bring some people on and we just kind of sit around and just talk story, talk story and hang out. And then man, an hour's gone. Boom.
Yeah.
That's it.
It goes by fast. I remember we last had you on the show January of 2014. That's when you announced your retirement. What has life after MMA? And I know you're still involved. You're still a coach. But from an active, competitor standpoint, what's life after? I mean, do you miss it? Are you content with where you're at? What's it like?
Hey, you got the girl right now. Go. Yeah, I love. You know what? I mean, I'm still in the sport. Matter of fact, I got my team guys training right now. As soon as I start doing the interview, they start slacking, of course. So, I've got that going. My book just went on pre-sale. That's been a ton of work, this last year. Working with my writer, Daniel Panikin, to get that book done, and we're coming up on finishing it. So, it's really, really exciting. And then obviously, I get to get the radio show. I think I'm like 29-3 as a coach so far since I've retired.
Wow.
And that's counting UFC and Bellator veterans. I've got guys fighting in UFC, Bellator, and every other show across the country right now. I've got a huge team. So I'm kind of living the dream. A lot of fighters can't coach. A lot of coaches can't fight. I've always really, really, enjoyed coaching or owning my own gym. I mean, I had only been at Team Quest for less than a year before I started coaching full time, So it's always been, coaching's always been part of my life and, my calling, and I kind of feel like, one thing that maybe I did right that we kind of question a lot of these other fighters and go, are they really making the right decision? Is I kind of knew when, I had my run, I had a little 10-year run, it's good. It's time for me to step away and let the other kids take the limelight.
So I want to ask you about the book. That's one of the main reasons we had you on today. I know it just went on pre-sale. You can get it on Amazon.com. The name of the book is The Crippler: Cage Fighting and My Life on the Edge. Why did you decide to do this? Why write a book at this point in your life?
There's just so much there that people don't know. The stories, everybody's kind of got an idea. Everybody's heard a story here or there, but I really wanted to put something out so that the people would kind of see, what my life has been like and what I've been through. And ultimately, it's not just a collection of drunken, debauchery stories. I hope that people can see that, doesn't matter what hand you're dealt, it's how you play your cards, and, even though, I've had my ups and my downs and my struggles, but I always feel like you can't quite kill me. I always somehow come back and make it back up, and, overcome, a ton of adversity, from the day I popped out of the womb, I was facing, major life issues, and it's been that way my whole life. So, hopefully, if it motivates anybody or people read it and they go, man, well, you know what, if this guy can get through this, and the stuff I got through, I'm not going to say it was easy or I got through it perfectly, but, ultimately, I'm still here. Hopefully that'll motivate people or or at least I can show them what not to do.
Was it hard to relive it all? Because I can imagine someone who's experienced as much as you, been through those ups and downs. It's got to be hard to remember everything, but to put it all together, relive it, have to put it on paper to share. What's that like?
It's funny, you're the first guy to ask me that question, but it's so true. There was times when I was like, you know what, I just don't even want to do this.
Yeah.
It's emotionally draining, like a lot of that stuff, man, you know what I'm saying? Kind of let sleeping dogs lie, rehashing a lot of that stuff, it was definitely hard for me, to go over it, and sometimes, the writer would want to sit there for hour after hour working on this stuff, and I'm like, man, I can do an hour. I need a break because this is intense. It's intense for me, because I'm already an emotional person, very, and I realize that about myself. So reliving this stuff, it's like I feel like I'm there again, it was a lot of work, but I think that, a form of therapy as well. You know what I mean? Coming to terms and coming to grips with a lot of it.
Could you tell us what was maybe the toughest part to relive?
A lot of my childhood stuff, like I hadn't even told my wife about.
Wow.
A lot of that stuff I just really the first 14 years of my life or 13 years of my life were just shitty, basically. So going back there and, reliving a lot of that was very difficult. But then at the same time, reflecting on some of the other things that I've done, like I always look at myself as a good person, but then I look at some of these mistakes that I made and I go, man, can I cuss on your show?
Go ahead. Go nuts.
I'm a fucking asshole sometimes, when I and I mean, that's hard too, because you always want to paint this picture of yourself. Everybody wants to paint themselves as being a great person, a hero, and if anything goes wrong, they're always the victim, in my case, looking back at a lot of this, I kind of, definitely a reality check, like, man, you're the one that messed up there, not the other guy,
Wow. It takes a lot to come to that conclusion, especially at this stage. I mean, you're not that old. Some people might realize it at 60, 70, 50, you're a pretty young guy. So I think that's a big kudos to you.
Well, thanks, man. Yeah. And, I'm still working every day. It's funny in America, we assume you turned 18 years old and you're all grown up. You're an adult now.
Yeah.
That's just kind of the way as a society we look at it. But, truthfully, I'm continuing to grow and evolve, and I think I always will be. I almost look at it just the same way I look at martial arts. It's like if you're not growing, you're dying. You're either working to improve, or you're, what I mean, or you're dying. You're fading away. So it's the same thing on the mat. I kind of take that same mentality I put towards training to life.
Okay. So more to that point, Chris, you still there?
Yes.
More to that point, you came up, you were kind of a part of the news cycle recently when a colleague of mine, Chuck Mindenhall, wrote this amazing feature on Jason Thacker. Did you happen to read it?
I did. I read it. We talked about it a little bit on the show. I'm not the best reader, so I scanned it, hit all the highlights, and stuff. Talked about it for a while. What an intense piece. I mean, geez.
Now, what did you think of that? I mean, you're very much linked to the guy. You were his only UFC fight. How did that make you feel? That stuff.
Honestly, like the one thing that really touched me is the fact that the guy doesn't hold any resentment. He doesn't seem to have anything against me. He's not mad at me, And I know that in that case, there's a perfect example. I'm the guy that fucked up. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
I was the asshole, in that story. And he's, a lot of people kind of want to feel sorry for the guy or whatever, but, I look at it and I go, man, the guy's handling his stuff. He's standing up and being a man and doing what he needs to do. It's living life. He's living life. He's taking care of his parents. He's, So I mean, they did the GoFundMe thing, and I think they actually hit their goal for what he needed. So that's, you know, it's awesome. I'm glad that he was at least able to get that out of the piece.
Did you have any? Go ahead. Sorry.
And what's that? Sorry.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, and you know, so he seems to have you know, dealt with all his stuff you know, well, I would say.
Did you have any idea what he had to go through to get to the fight? Like that he had to spar Dana White and go through this sort of gauntlet of fighters? Did you know that was going on?
No, I didn't. No.
Crazy.
And I didn't know, you know, that he was getting beat up in bars afterward. Because,
yeah.
You know, apparently he was, you know, they were so Canadians were so upset with the way he did on the show. You know,
crazy,
it's a terrible thing.
Yeah, it is. I mean, if there's anything you would say to the guy, if you saw him in person, what would you say?
You know, I'd say, man, young and dumb. You know.
Yeah.
Ultimately, you know, truthfully, at that time in my life, if you fell asleep around any one of my friends, you were gonna get messed with. Like, you know, I didn't realize going onto the show that I had a lot of issues. I didn't realize that people didn't wake up and drink every day. I mean, I've been living in my own world. You know, my family was in Felony Flats in Southeast Portland. You know, I grew up in more or less in a mess house. You know, and so I didn't realize that, you know, I was so much different than everybody else. So it's, you know, definitely looking back, you know, it's eye-opening. And I probably just want to let him know that, hey, man, you know, I've grown a lot since then. You know, a lot of the stuff that happened on that show is what's made me who I am today. So I wouldn't take anything back. I wouldn't change anything because I truly believe everything happens for a reason. And I believe that for both of us, you know, there was a lot of learning and growth that came out of that first season of The Ultimate Fighter.
I know you had a little run in the, you know, in MMA prior to getting to the UFC and getting on The Ultimate Fighter. You were a very solid 10-1. But if let's say you didn't get that call for season one, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was going to say 10-1, but the Sherdog seems to have put a loss on my record that's just not true.
Oh.
The other day, I can't believe it. I tried to email him. I don't know why. Ridiculous. I did this show for Paul Herrera called Hitman.
Okay.
And this was before MMA was legal in California. So Chael actually fought Babalu on it and stuff, and none of those guys have the fight on their record. He didn't count it. But they suddenly put the fight on my record. I thought I can't even remember the guy's name. A black belt jiu-jitsu instructor from Kiki's gym, and somehow, you know, I beat him up the whole fight. The referee goes, "Don't worry, buddy, you won that fight." They can raise his hand because the winners are predetermined because the cops are right there. They can't come in. The cops are saying if you raise the wrong person's hand, then it's an actual fight, and we're going to break the show up, right? So guys are getting knocked out. They're waking them up and then raising their hand. And now Sherdog has went and put this loss on my record. Can you believe that?
So I'm looking at your record right now. I just see one loss prior to going into the UFC. That was to Joe Dirksen. I don't see any. Maybe they took it off.
No, they must have took it off then.
How about that?
It was on there. I emailed them.
Great news. It all worked out. But I was just wondering, what do you think you would have done if you didn't get on the show and let's say Griffin Bonner doesn't happen, the UFC dissolves? I mean, and you had a very long career. What would Chris Leben have done in 2008, 2009, 2010? What do you think would have became of your life?
Not a clue. Not a clue, man. I mean, if it wasn't for wrestling, I would have never got through high school. You know, and if it wasn't for fighting, what I would have done, I don't know. I mean, I put all my eggs into one basket. You know, I never looked back. I never thought of doing anything else. You know, I remember I fought my first fight. You know, and I walked home. I told my girlfriend at the time, I said, you know, I'm going to quit going to college. And she said, great, you can stay home. I said, no, I'm training every day. So then I moved. You know, obviously that relationship didn't work out. You know, I moved into my best friend's mom's basement for $200 a month, and just worked just enough to pay rent, and then trained. You know, so I mean, I would have done something in the sport. I would have been a coach or fought in any show that I could. obviously, you know, the UFC blew up and everything kind of worked out in that way. So, you know, it's amazing how things work out in the end. But all my chips were in one way or another. You know, MMA was what I was put here on this planet to do.
And how's your life going now? I mean, are you clean, sober? Do you feel healthy? How are things?
Yes, I am. I'm good. I'm actually still regularly going to counseling and treatment. I haven't took a pain pill in about 3.5 years now. You know, so
Great.
you know, from that, I mean, I still have some issues with emotion. You know, I have people say something to me, it hurts my feelings. I overreact. I have those issues still. You know, I'm working on them. But ultimately, you know, I'm in a wonderful marriage, and you know, I have a great job. I got a lot of things going for me. Shit, man, I can't complain.
Okay, last thing before I let you go, give us a name or two that you're really excited about. One of your students, you say that you're rolling right now as a coach, and that's great to hear.
Right
Who
now
are we
I've
really
got
excited about?
Ian Butler.
Uh-huh.
He's one of my guys.
Okay.
Fights in Bellator. You know, they do a huge job promoting me. He actually grew up here homeless in San Diego, so he's got quite an amazing story himself. They're doing like the Bellator pre-countdown thing for him next week here. So I'm really focusing on him right now. Justin Jones, another one of my guys, just fought in the UFC. Unfortunately, he lost that decision. I don't know if I agree with it, but you know, still just a very, very talented fighter. And then I got a couple other Bellator guys, and I got a bunch of great amateur and lower level pros. It's a really, really good team. You know, we're one big family.
That's great. Great to hear. Again, the name of the book coming out is The Crippler: Cage Fighting and My Life on the Edge. You can pre-order it right now. Just go to Amazon, type in Chris Leben. It will come up, and it officially comes out January of 2016. But like I said, you can get it now. So do check that out. I will be checking it out. I look forward to it very much. Chris, thank you so much for taking some time out of your day. Get back to the gym and your guys. I appreciate it very much, and I wish you all the best.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, Ariel. Talk to you.
There he is, the Crippler himself, Chris Leben, now an author. Check out the book, The Crippler: Cage Fighting and My Life on the Edge. Great stuff. Some great characters to start the show, and let's keep that train rolling along. In a minute, we're going to be joined in studio by two of New York's finest. The man who won TUF 19, Eddie Gordon. Remember him? Eddie Gordon, the truck. Great win in the finale of TUF 19 last July. That was a great weekend for Team Longo Serra. They had Chris Weidman defeating Lyoto Machida on Saturday night in Las Vegas. And then the following night, Eddie Gordon won the Ultimate Fighter. Tremendous stuff. He'll be in studio. He's in action this weekend in Newark, New Jersey against Chris Dempsey. And also in studio, one of the rising stars in the UFC's bantamweight division, Aljamain Sterling, who has a huge fight on Saturday, also in Newark, New Jersey, UFC on Fox 15 against the veteran Takeya Mizugaki. What a big opportunity that is for Mr. Sterling.